Here's time for some more world building tips, and today I want to talk about geography and climate. Uh, Before I get into this one, I'm not gonna lie. This was one of the trickier ones to write notes for, or considering when I think of geography, I'm basically just thinking landscapes, and that in and of itself, I don't really associate a lot with world building. But as I was working on notes, I actually started thinking more and more about it, and I actually came up with a couple different facets of geography that I think are pretty applicable with writing. Now, the first one I want to talk about is basically figuring out where everything is, and I do mean this fairly literally. Especially when it comes to things like Kingdom A is over here, Kingdom B is over there, and Kingdom C is right in the middle. Well, this works in a couple of different ways. A, it helps you form a map in your mind of where the different points of interest are. But also anyone who's read a high fantasy book or pretty much any book with a political tone to it, it knows that when it comes to a neighboring kingdom, it tends to either go, okay, this kingdom and this kingdom are allies, or this kingdom and this kingdom are on the brink of war. Hey, it's politics. But again, it is something to think about, and you can actually have some fun with it. Now, the second one that I think is very important to think about is resources, namely natural resources. And by this I mean anything from farming to lumber or to mining. This is actually one I actually think is pretty interesting, and because, well, if for no other reason than the fact that this is one of the most true to life applications of geography and world building that you're probably going to find. And if for another reason, remember that the whole thing that America, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the fact that England was trying to find new ways of getting natural resources. So natural resources are actually very important, and something I think you can actually have fun with and play with is kind of figuring out the balance those different regions have in terms of resources. Like one region could be very abundant with farmland, but they don't exactly have a lot of mining or lumber, and that's kind of bad for the economy. Or you can flip it and say that they're very good with mining, but they don't have a lot of farmland, and so they don't have a lot of food. I really believe this is actually something that can be pretty interesting, and you can have a lot of fun with if you just play around with it long enough. Now, one last facet of geography I think is worth mentioning, and this one actually does tie in more with that whole landscape thing I mentioned before, and that is trade and military routes. Now, I promise this isn't going to be boring, but hear me out. How many times in a book where the main characters are traveling cross-country for whatever reason, and how many times have you heard something along the lines of okay, we can either go around the mountain, or we could take a path directly through it. However, that path is very dangerous and it's fraught with danger. That's essentially what I'm talking about. Is there a trade-off between different routes, or is there some exploit either the good guys or the bad guys can take regarding trade or military routes? For instance, is there a critical point in the military routes that the villain could exploit so that the good guys couldn't call for backup that they needed it. It's just something to think about, and I think it's worth mentioning. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is climate. I think this one does bear mentioning. I think there's just not a lot to talk about here, or at least not to me. If any of you guys have more ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments. But when I think of climate, I'm basically thinking weather patterns and temperature. Which, let's be honest, you can't go too far with that. The main application of climates in stories I've seen has been more thematic, right? In that, let's say your main character starts out in a very poor and impoverished home. A lot of times authors will have them being in like a very cold, snowy climate just to sort of punctuate how harsh their life is. And as the story progresses and the main character moves to, I don't know, the capital city, and the climate also changes to something usually more temperate and less oppressive, and usually reflecting that the main character now has a chance at something. Again, take that one with a grain of salt. Especially with world building, because I'm not quite sure where the line is dividing world building and thematics. So to each their own, I guess. Now, before I sign off, just want to give a quick thank you to my friends Vanessa Benincourt and Jacob Falling, without whom I probably wouldn't have been able to make the notes for this. So again, thank you guys. Now that's all for now. Now, but until next time, this is James West signing off.